What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Show back with another video. Now, with the release of like Final Fantasy 16, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Final Fantasy's taking obviously a new turn. They're taking a new direction. I knew that the turn-based gaming was pretty much over. After a certain while, I think 10 was really like the final game in the Final Fantasy legacy that was just strictly turn-based. I'm okay with that, man. I'm not mad about it. I do kind of miss that though. I think some of the most fun I've had was playing Dragon Quest 11, and it was like fully turn-based. Something about turn-based for me is what I grew up on. It's what I love. It's like, yes, I can adapt. I can, switch it up. I'm not afraid to switch it up, and I'm not really discounting the action style gameplay now. I love the gameplay for Final Fantasy 16. I've been putting countless hours into it. I've been trying to do every side quest imaginable just to try to extend the game. The story is absolutely amazing. Everything about the game is amazing, and it's a masterpiece to me. But there's the thing. I'm going to be sad, though, because it seems like we may not get any of those Final Fantasy elements in future games. What I mean is, the one kind of glaring problem I had with 16 is just that while the action was good, the combat was good, the story was good, what would have really made it a 10 out of 10 for me, personally, is if they made the items matter. And I know that really doesn't sound like much, but what I mean is, in Final Fantasy 16, when you're fighting and you're playing the game, like at least the normal way, when you're getting items and getting materials from like characters, like rare monsters and stuff that you fight, and you're getting materials, it really feels like none of that really matters, like at all. It's just really stuff in the background. Like when you were playing on like 10 or any other Final Fantasy game, you had to collect specific materials to get nice weapons or to get stuff unlocked for you. I feel like the weapons and the items made sense. Like it really felt like, okay, I can sit here and go through this forest to try to get this this certain ore or whatever, and it takes a long time to get. It's a high drop from a monster or something like that, but it really matters. It feels like the loot just does not matter in this game. That sucks in itself because it takes a little bit of the enjoyment out for me. When I play a game like Final Fantasy, I want to go against like some of the toughest creatures in the game, and I want to have the equipment that I can have on me to better optimize the boss fight. And obviously you can get like different swords, you can get stronger swords and stuff, and there's like little stuff that you can get. But in terms of a Final Fantasy game, there's not a lot. Obviously, they said the gameplay is a Devil May Cry. The gameplay in itself is absolutely fun. I really do enjoy the gameplay. It's just that the systems around it doesn't really do much for me. Like I'm a weird man. I'm a nerd. I like to open a new Final Fantasy, go through the menus, and get this magic boost or this attack boost and build my characters a certain way. And I feel like that just wasn't really present in this game. For instance, like I had unlocked the skill tree system, and basically I had like a lot of points. I had like 5,000 points and stuff just sitting there because I didn't really care for all the abilities enough to really just buy mass abilities. If they had like a tree where you can gather like more strength, more dexterity or something like that, that would have been cool. But I guess the type of game that it calls for is not really that type of game, so I can understand that. That's mainly my biggest problem with the game. I know people really mixed about like the open worldness of it, because the fact that it's not open world and it's like these large kind of zones. For me, I enjoyed it. I would have rather had an open world Final Fantasy experience. I know people kind of disagree, but I really got to look at you guys, because while it all comes down to personal preference, obviously, I feel like a lot of people are just kind of coping, because yes, we've had a lot of open world experiences with like games being open world, being boring. Me personally, I played Assassin's Creed like Odyssey and stuff. Could not finish those games because of the sheer amount of open worldness, where it would just get boring and more boring and more boring. The thing is though, I feel like the world that this is set in, it's designed to be an open world. There's so many countries and places and stuff. It would be amazing to be able to kind of travel through all of them, and the game in itself is vast. It's pretty vast. I just feel like with that design, we're stepping back into the past, because it's like, okay, you're gonna give us these zones that existed in like Final Fantasy 10 and games like that. You're gonna give us these zones, and then you're gonna like have these zones a little bit more wider and open, but it's not turn based, so it's really no point of like kind of grinding everything. Like it's really based on the action gameplay, which is cool. It's more to me, it's more like engaging, because if you have a very boring JRPG, like one that you really just do not care for like that, it's not gonna matter regardless, right? I mean, you're gonna get bored even if it's turn-based or not. I think literally Final Fantasy 16 does some stuff that I feel like they've done better than any Final Fantasy game they made. Like boss battles and the big icon cutscene battles, they've done them the best in like any game I've ever seen in Final Fantasy, in my opinion. I feel like those those spectacles that we get with them big boss battles are like amazing, and they really should not be understated. But just in terms of the game in itself, it doesn't really feel like a Final Fantasy game to me. It does feel like more of a Devil May Cry, but it does feel like more of an action-y game. In terms of like the lore and everything feels like Final Fantasy. The story feels like Final Fantasy. The gameplay doesn't feel like Final Fantasy, but I'm okay with that, you know. I like the gameplay in 7. I like the gameplay in 16. I like the gameplay in 13, even though a lot of people don't. I really do like any system they come up with, and I can't complain and say that I would rather have one system. I could say that, but I can't, you know, whine and complain because they don't have that system. You know, they have been smart in trying to innovate how they want to go about things. I mean, if you want to play Final Fantasy 7, they got the Final Fantasy 7 remake part coming out next year. Other than that, but like I said, my main big problem was that it just didn't seem like any of the side stuff mattered. Side quests in itself were really boring. There's some side quests in games where I'd be so surprised they're side quests because they're just like they got their own full storyline and stuff, and I really do like those games like that. Like, yeah, the main story in itself is like 30 to 40 hours. But you can do side quests and they won't bore you to death, because at the end of the day, you don't really need to do side quests in this game, like at all. Like, this game is easy enough to where you don't have to do no side quests really. You can just level up through the story and just kind of beat everybody. It really boils down to how good you are with the controller, and I guess that is good for some people, you know. But I'd rather have like overly powered bosses and use a lot of strategy to kind of defeat them. And then again, I haven't played like the New Game Plus and everything, so I mean, let's just scratch that off the list. I think if I were to look at this game as like how I looked at God of War, then this game would be absolutely no doubt a masterpiece, and you can't say otherwise. Like, it's an absolute good game, and you know, in the same format as God of War, this is what this game kind of is. It's kind of like, yeah, you have your base fighting. The story is really what you're enthralled in. The gameplay in itself is solid. It's really good. You know, it's something you could play for hours, but the story is what draws you in. And with like God of War, you know, you go through the story, you get like maybe a couple of new power-ups along the way, and that's how it feels in this game. But the problem is, in Final Fantasy 16, it doesn't really carry like the torch for like some of the older Final Fantasy games, where it just was a lot of mystery and a lot of wonder and stuff. I feel like it's the package is right there for you to really consume. I know this doesn't really sound like nothing but gibberish to people who don't really play a lot of Final Fantasies like that, but I'm pretty sure some people will kind of understand what I'm trying to say. The game in itself is good. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's great. Except for my personal preferences, I probably would have leaned more into like some of the older formatted Final Fantasies in terms of like some of the features and stuff. Because it's like I said, it just doesn't feel like an RPG to me. Not like a really rich one like it would be with any Final Fantasy game. So with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe. Did you feel the same way? Could you kind of understand what I'm saying? It's kind of hard to explain my point, simply because this is based off of a feeling I'm having and not necessarily like a critique. But with that being said, I really would like to know if you felt the same way. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.